lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan.
And I'm Manny.
And today we're going to be talking about one of the best 90s series, I think, from Marvel, Punisher Warzone by Chuck
Yeah,
Dixon and John Romita Jr. And Klaus Janson does inks on this one, right? Yeah,
I believe.
Klaus
Yeah.
Janson on inks. To me, this is a very iconic cover, too. Is embedded in my head. Like, I don't need, you can just tell it to me and I can picture every aspect of this cover. Plus,
Yeah.
look at this great die cut stuff. I miss this kind of stuff in comics. I wish that, I know it's expensive. I know that's why they don't do it anymore. But anyways, before we get into it, I want to remind everybody, if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button and check out some of the rest of the dope content on the channel. I usually say we're daily, but I've been slacking on editing videos lately, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend we post videos every day, but I try to be as consistent as possible.
It's summer, you know.
Yeah, it is summer. Yeah, my kid's home, so but let's jump into this, man. This I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. There was another YouTube channel that did it, so I was like, let me give it some space to breathe before we cover it and talk about it. It's time, dude. It's just one. This is a pretty I don't want to say pivotal comic in my young reading, but it was definitely I think this was the first Punisher comic I ever had.
It definitely the first Punisher comic that I really got into, and like because of when it came out, and I was at the height of pretty much at the height of my reading comics when I was a kid, because I started around '89, so this is like 3 years into me really being into comics. It felt like it was my Punisher series, you know, like War Journal and the regular book had been running a while, and although I picked those up every now and then when I saw them in the newsstand, I did start picking this up with number one when I was a kid.
Yeah, I don't remember how. I mean, I was 5 when this came out, so I don't remember how or when I got this issue. I just know that it's my first Punisher comic. So
Yeah.
It definitely was probably a couple of years after it had been out. It might have been one of those like multi-packs that they used to have everywhere, you know? But yeah, it stood out to me. I love John Romita Jr. I think that he's another artist. It's funny. The first X-Men comic I picked up was issue 300. I traded it on the schoolyard when I was a kid. I don't remember what I traded it for, but that hologram cover, dude, I was like, I need that, you know? And so it's funny that he drew the first X-Men comic I got and the first Punisher comic I got, both John Romita Jr. But I love this one. And I think this is like I don't want to say this is peak John Romita Jr., but it's my favorite era. Because this is when he does, you know, Daredevil Man Without Fear with Frank Miller. It's around the same time. And I really think that he's like firing on all cylinders. And he's also really good with these, you know, the gritty characters, the street level heroes.
Yeah, he really is. I think he's better suited. As I do like his X-Men run too, but I think he is better suited for this kind of stuff.
I mean, it's fantastic, dude. I mean, you just open up, Punisher's going after some thugs that have, you know, attacked these cops. And the fear in these guys' eyes, dude.
He really makes John Romita Jr. Really makes the Punisher like really scary and threatening. And then you get like this really sort of hard-boiled like narration and dialogue by like Chuck Dixon. Like, I love this on the first page here where Punisher's like, my snitch has gone ballistic on ice or lightning or some other lap junk. Like it's so like Dirty Harry, you know, which is I mean, you know, say what you will about like, you know, whether the Punisher is a hero or not. You want the Punisher written like this, you know. He is, you know, a fucking, you know, psycho killer, and he does have those kind of thoughts, you know, like he's not, there's no black and there's no gray area when it comes to Frank Castle. You know, you're either a criminal or you're not.
No, and look, not to say I didn't like what Jason Aaron did on that series, but this is the kind of Punisher I want to read.
Yeah, that series was fun, and I actually read it recently, and it was an interesting take.
It is an interesting take, but like this is the Frank Castle I want to see, and even that Punisher, that new one that David Pepose wrote, like it was fun. I read the first issue, but I just want Frank Castle, dude. And this is, I mean, there's room for this kind of comic to be coming out from Marvel. If you have to do it under the Max imprint, fine. But I mean, look at this, dude. First shot should be a kill shot, but he's not going to let me have one. The longer this goes on, the uglier it'll get. Like this is great writing, and this is great art. And then you fucking give this fucking double page,
dude. What I mean, that's an amazing like splash page, the double splash page, and the coloring. You know, I mean,
the yellow,
and the inking. Like, I love Klaus Janson inking on John Romita Jr. This is not the first nor the last time that they do work together.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like this era, it's like he also inks him on the freaking Daredevil Man Without Fear.
Does he ink him also on that one graphic novel one shot that's Ghost Rider, Punisher, and Wolverine? I think he
Maybe,
might.
maybe.
I might.
Yeah, I
I
don't
might.
know.
You
I'd
know
have to
which book
check.
I'm talking
I
about,
know
right?
exactly which one you're talking about. I have it somewhere. It's like buried in my collection, but I know which one
Same.
you're talking
Yeah,
about.
that'd be a good one too,
Hell yeah. But look at this.
dude.
Dilbert was useful to me once. He heard things. He hung with the bottom feeders. He can hang with the devil now. I don't need you anymore. So you're gone. You're
Yeah,
dead.
fucking blows him away, dude. You even get a
Yeah.
little bit of Kirby crackle on the fucking Uzi there, you know,
Oh
like.
yeah, dude. And then we get Microchip.
And
He's
I
such a
think that's
great.
something that is missing from Punisher's like comics. You know, like I really love their dynamic. I love what Microchip does. I think he's very integral to the Punisher mythos, and like it just feels weird when you don't have him in there
Well, it's
somehow.
because it's like you have somebody that's not completely gone over the edge. That's
Right.
kind of like a twisted Jiminy Cricket for him, you know?
Yes, kind of. Yeah, kind of like a gives him a little bit of a moral compass.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can't even remember the last time he was in a freaking Punisher comic. I really
No,
would love to see them like kind of revisit this concept of bare bones Frank Castle.
thank you for saying that. Oh, yeah, because that's exactly what I had in my mind. Is like the Punisher is stripped down, just killing criminals with Microchip helping him find stuff. You know, street level thugs, mafia, not going after supervillains or anything like that. That's what I loved about the Warzone comics.
I prefer him out of the mix, the Marvel universe for the most part. It's
Yeah,
fine. Like there was a really great crossover with Punisher and Daredevil when Greg Rucka was writing Punisher. That was fine. You know, like just a little bit. And obviously like he has ties to Daredevil. He was in the, Frank Castle. I mean
yeah,
the Frank Miller run. There's a two-parter with Punisher. Spider-Man, obviously he made his debut, but it should be used very sparingly. And that's
yes,
why I love, this particular series. And, I read a few issues past this. It grounds him. It's more believable. I don't want to say that somebody really would do this, but it makes the character more believable when he's not in this like larger than life Marvel universe. Like when they brought him into Civil War, or when they turned him into Frankencastle,
right.
or in the Marvel Knights when they had him fighting demons and ghosts and shit. I'm like, fuck, dude, that's not what makes
No,
Frank
yeah,
Castle cool, like it's an interesting like maybe a one-off, but it shouldn't be the main Punisher. And I like that Microchip is like he's trying to say, dude, you're pushing yourself too hard. You need to fucking kick
yeah,
back. And then he just is like, fuck this. I can't. I need to get out of here. He's like, we're not married, Frank. Because he's like,
no,
I might need you later. And he does. He really utilizes Microchip for a lot of the stuff that he doesn't want to have to bother himself to do, a lot of the research, a lot of the, I don't say the nuts and bolts, but he does the unpretty work of their mission.
I love
And
these
then
panels with the rain.
yeah, I love how dude, Romita Jr. is like always does these great covers and stuff in the rain, the
Yeah, he's
pages.
one of the best artists. Like when it comes to drawing, like a scene in a rain. Like he does it well without obstructing the actual image and makes it feel real and atmospheric. You know, it's very cinematic what he does with it.
And I love that he's tracking Microchip, but even then he's like talking about how good he is. Like that he trained him and he trained him well, and he's like looking around and he's like he can tell he feels something. And he's like, oh, he's gonna wait for the next train. Damn. So even he's like thrown off. He thinks that Microchip will wait, but instead he jumps right on the train, kind of like knowing how Frank Castle is.
What
Or
a great sequence here! Like
dude,
just him
this
following
too.
him. You know, him on the train. The brief flashback to his family
It's
dying. I mean,
perfect. It's perfect
yeah,
because you just get this like very short snippet of that, how he has his family, which is why he's on this mission, and then Microchip has his son dying, which is why he's on the mission. But he doesn't have the same like I don't want to say like detachment from humanity.
yeah,
Maybe that's a little too harsh, but it kind of is. Like you kind of have to do this kind of fucking like to be able to kill like he does.
yeah. I mean, Punisher is essentially a serial killer. You know, he just kills
Yeah.
criminals.
I know. I feel like it says something about me that I'm like cool with him doing that, but
Yeah,
I don't
same,
know.
right?
I feel like, maybe this is not great to say, but I feel like some people deserve to die. I feel like there's some fucked up
Yeah,
people that probably just it'd be better off if you're just gone.
yeah,
There's some people that I just don't think there's any like there is no redemption that
yeah,
you
yeah.
can
There
have.
is a point of no return.
Yeah, there's a point of no return. And I love, he's spying on him. I love this. The rain, Frank
Yeah,
climbing up the ladder. No superpowers is another thing that I love about this. And he can't even read Microchip's lips because he's wearing a phony beard. which is, again, very clever on his part. And then when Micro gets back, I love how we just get this panel of Punisher polishing or cleaning his gun.
Great rendering and drawing of the gun. Like
Yeah.
it's like I'm sure that I almost want to say he must have been using a real gun as reference, because like the angle and like the three-dimensional aspect of it is very good.
And I love the lighting on Frank's face, because
Oh
he's really in the dark, but then you get
yeah,
this like just stark white on his face.
yeah. I mean, it's a play off, like, Frank is a person who sees the world in black and white. It's a play on his uniform. Like, John Romita Jr. is such a fantastic. I mean, aside from just being a great artist, he's also such a great storyteller. He really knows how to tell a story visually. Whereas, like, that sequence we saw before, you could take away all the great narration that Chuck Dixon wrote, and you could still understand what was going on based on how Romita Jr. is drawing the faces, drawing like the pacing.
Mm-hmm. I love how he's like, you want to talk about something, Micro? He's like, you followed me? And he's like, you'd rather stick around behind me instead of just asking. He's like, I needed to know who's the guy you're talking to. But look at this panel, dude, right here. It's just Frank's head, the Punisher skull. It's entirely black behind. It's so striking, dude.
He almost looks like a corpse,
Yeah.
The deep blacks of the eyes almost look like a mask. I mean, so good.
Yeah,
I love
dude.
that Microchip. Like, Microchip is he's not a fucking coward, dude. He stands up to Frank like a fucking G himself,
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy because Frank kills people, dude. And
yeah.
Micro doesn't give a shit, dude. He's just straight calling him out.
Yeah.
And he's like, you don't have trust. You don't trust me. He's like, I've had it, and he's out of there. And this is what sends
He's crying,
Frank...
bro. Look at I didn't really realize that detail until right now, but Microchip's...
Oh yeah, I didn't notice either. They should
That's
have
a nice
colored that a
touch.
little. They should have colored that a little differently.
Yeah, but it's a nice touch, man.
Yeah. And he's like, and he even says it, as long as I protect the secret of the Punisher, that's all that matters. And that is, like, Frank doesn't really care about people. Like, he
No.
cares about him in his way, but it's not how you normally care about somebody. And he kind of used Microchip's grief about his son to bring him into this fucking war that he's waging on crime. And now that he's by himself, he's going to go further down the rabbit hole, dude, of just like relentlessness. And look at that. He's like, yeah, I hurt him, but he'll heal. He just needs more scar tissue. That panel.
Yeah, dude.
With the shadow in his eyes, and it's just like no remorse whatsoever.
Yeah, that panel of him shooting off the gun is amazing too. I mean, such great art. This is such a great book.
And then we flash over to Colombia, and this is where, like, the drugs kind of come into play, because that's like one of the things he takes out is drug dealers, right?
Yeah, it was the 90s, man. This is very, you and I talk a lot when we talk about 90s action books, how much they're influenced by like the action movies of the 90s. And like, there was always fucking cartels where the villains, and everything from like Lethal Weapon to like Steven Seagal movies,
Yep. I love this panel too, when they get shot through the fucking window. And then we get fucking Shotgun, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Another 90s character, right? 90s? Was what he's introduced?
Yeah. I believe he was introduced in a Daredevil run, right? I think he was an Anna Senti character.
I think so, yeah. Maybe it was late 80s then.
Because I remember when Wizard used to do like their like characters to watch, like when they thought a character was going to take off, like around this time, I think they were trying to make Shotgun like sort of like a bigger character, and maybe even give him his own series eventually. Like,
it's a good name,
I like him.
dude.
I love his design. Yeah. I love the big fucking guns on the back, and like.
Yeah, he's been around recently in the Amazing Spider-Man run. He was part of that gang war.
Yeah, he was. Doing. Yeah.
I love this too. He wakes up and he's looking for Micro, realizes like, oh shit, he must have run. He's like, he can't accept that he's gone. He's like, he must have run out for something. He'll be back. I know he'll be back. Time to go to
Shotgun work. Might even be a John Romita Jr. He might have co-created the character.
I think he did.
This sequence is great too. The coloring in these two pages is great, especially the exteriors, like with like New York and all the signs and all the neon.
I know, it's so great too. Like, you're seeing like the front is just a fucking Chinese restaurant being open, and then you see that they got some shit going on in the back where they're counting money. It's a front. They fucking get robbed, and their driver, when they go to open the door, hanging out,
just fucking falls out dead.
Yeah, I love this. You guys walked out without your fortune cookies.
Yeah, dude. It's dirty Harry shit, bro. Boom, dude. I mean, what an image, dude. Him on top of that car, just he's holding an assault rifle in one hand and an Uzi in the other.
It doesn't get better than this, dude.
Dude, yeah. And then like the image of him shooting the car, like the car getting shot up. This whole spread is insane. The rendering, the art, the way Frank's eyes are almost fucking demonic and red. Like,
The
bro,
narration is great too. Like, I'm not playing
yeah,
with these guys. They're packing heavy and they're on that rush. A holdup gives you
yeah, dude.
adrenaline.
I love when they make up drugs, you know?
Yeah.
Like in RoboCop, they have like fucking like Nuke and like they always give them these over the top names. Like, this is like the peak of like the Just Say No era, you know?
Yeah, look at this. Adrenaline and fear mixed with a few reds and four roses. I take them down hard. Maybe a little too hard, but I'm trying to make a point. And just fucking blowing them away. This is fucking crazy because I forgot that this was in here. This scene that he hasn't tied
It's
up.
very infamous, man. Because me too. Like,
yeah, but they use this in the Punisher movie with Thomas Jane.
Yeah, yeah.
When he has somebody tied up and he has the blowtorch, but in reality, you see, first of all, beds come in pairs like butt cheeks.
Yeah.
And he's like, we need to talk. I need an introduction to your bosses, right? And he's fucking telling him, he's like, I'll get the answer out of you. And he fucking lights the blowtorch. And then he fucking uses the popsicle stick because the ice cold of it's making him psychologically think he's being fucking torched, right?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you don't know what that feels like. And then he shoves it in his mouth. And I know that they pulled from Ennis's Punisher run a little bit for that Punisher movie that came out. But I forgot that this scene was pulled from here. Look at that. I mean, he even says it. It won't hurt at first. It's too hot. It sears the nerve endings. You'll smell burning meat and then it'll hurt. So he's fucking torching the meat and showing the
steak.
And then we get it. He's going to introduce him to his boss. And then we get Frank Castle, the fucking earring and the ponytail.
I mean, we often talk about how important first issues are. And like, this is such a great first issue. This could be your first Punisher issue. You could know nothing about the character. And, you get a great setup for a great story. You get an introduction as to who Punisher is, who Microchip is, what their relationship is, the sort of way that Frank is viewed by the criminal. Like, everything you need to know about a Punisher comic is in this book.
Dude, I know. It's fantastic, dude. And
yeah.
I don't think they collected it. Although I don't want them to collect
so
it
either.
Because if they collect it, they're gonna just ruin the coloring on here, and it's just gonna it's gonna butcher it. But yeah, fantastic Punisher comic. If you don't have, I don't know many people that don't have this in their collection that are around our age. But if you don't have it, I highly recommend picking it up.
Yeah.
It is such a fun read. I've already picked up some issues past this.
I'm definitely am too. I mean, I have a few random ones, but I want to get at least a good chunk because I want to read like the bulk of this.
Yeah, it's great, dude. And while you're at it, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid drops. And on that note, we're out.